Alright, I was wrong. Now I'm a believer. This thing is epic. Alright champs, let's get rid of Windows Home and let's get some Windows Pro. Copy and paste my code from the description. New codes, new discount. You can get Windows Professional, Office. Paste my code. Boom. It's Windows Pro time. Righto, tell you there champs. Now today I'm going to look at something special, really special. I get sent a lot of things and you get a bit jaded with tech every now and then. You review the same sort of thing over and over again. But hey, this thing here blew me away. I cannot tell you how good this monitor is. You have to see it to believe it. There's no words. It is just smashing. Now I am indeed talking about the Asus ROG PG27UQ. What kind of a name is that? This is touted as the ultimate gaming display, and I'm here to tell you right now, it is the ultimate. Once you use this, you're never the same again. Going back to a standard monitor now, it's really depressing. It really is. Once you see this, it's just, yeah. And I wasn't a believer. I thought the technology wasn't ready, Being the first generation of these 4K HDR, 144 Hertz IPS panels with 384 local dimming panels, FLAD for short, 1000 nits of peak brightness, proper VESA display, HDR 1000 certified. Well, it meets the standard at least. Over 600 nits of sustained brightness. So this is proper HDR, 10-bit processing, although it still is an 8-bit panel. Just the brightness, especially if you're in a dark scene and you quickly turn over to a bright scene, it's just boom, blows your eyeballs out, like seriously. And even games that aren't HDR, I play PUBG and the snow has never looked so white and bright. So if you have a look at the design you'll either like it or you'll hate it. It's got that gamer sort of design, the ROG design. Good build quality, nothing to complain about here. You have metal stand at the bottom. The rest of it's pretty much plastic. It does have the thicker bezels, but on the back it's nicely embellished. They didn't have to do that sort of stuff, but they made the effort to do it. And that friggin' eye thing, or that ROG logo on the back, is friggin', that looks awesome. You also have like a light, an ROG light at the back too. It's got the gamer thing happening. I have actually reviewed their HDR ProArt monitor, so check out that review. That's a bit more understated, but it isn't 144 Hertz. It's not a gaming monitor. So it doesn't have any curve. I don't think the curve makes sense on a monitor this size. When you consider, it's 4K HDR, 144 Hertz, 1000 nits of brightness, and it has G-Sync HDR, which needs cooling. You understand why it's so thick, and it does have a fan. You will hear it, especially if you've got a quiet PC when it's idling, but under gaming loads you don't really hear it. The only time you're going to hear it is when your system's quiet. So Ash, you will not like it. Now for I/O, it does have DisplayPort and HDMI. It's HDMI 2.0 and I think it's 1.4 DisplayPort. Then the DisplayPort is the only one you can run the 144 Hz HDR 4K. You're stuck at 60 Hz if you run the HDMI. Also have some USBs under there and the audio jacks as well. No speaker here if you wanted to know. On the back are the function buttons for the on-screen display, and that's where you can overclock it to 144 Hz because it does come at 120 Hz out of the box. I would suggest keeping it at 120 Hz because text can start to look a bit funky if you've got HDR enabled and 144 Hz, but that's more of a Windows thing because the Windows, it's not perfect with HDR at the moment. Anyway, when I turn HDR off, it's fine. Now, as I said before, it has 384 local dimming panels. So that means instead of having one big backlight, it has 384. So this gives you the contrast. So if there's a dark scene like in the top left hand corner, you can turn those panels off if it's really dark and only light the zones that really need the brightness. So this is what gives you that beautiful HDR contrast. It has pretty much every color gamut coming out of the clacker. In fact, I can't even friggin' measure stuff because my measuring gear and software doesn't even understand HDR. You pretty much get most of 100% of Adobe RGB and DCI P3, I think Rec 709. They're trying to get HDR panels to actually do Rec 2020, but none of them can do the full Rec 2020 at the moment. But for color gamut, it's good. You can turn off that local dimming if you want and then use it as like a standard definition display if you really want the best color accuracy. But I can tell you now, editing video on this, like I had no issues, and it has all the adjustment levels you want. You can use it in portrait mode, you can flip it back and forward, you can tilt it up and down, left and right. Man, when it comes to gaming and watching HDR content, oh my friggin' god, it is so good. Playing Battlefield 5 HDR ray tracing 4K with G-Sync, there's no words. I cannot describe it to you. It is just, you have to do it. You have to find somewhere it has this monitor and you can play Battlefield with all that whiz-bang stuff on. Now, the thing is, you need a 2080 Ti. I'm telling you now, like ultra settings PUBG, you're only getting 60 frames per second. Battlefield 5 with ray tracing, HDR and all that stuff on, only 60 frames per second. With G-Sync, it'll help it out. It'll variable refresh, so it will be nice that way. And this is the problem I had with it. I thought, well, there's no graphics cards that can really push it. But then I put my custom settings in PUBG, which is basically ultra textures and low pretty much everything else, and boom, I was getting 120 frames per second at 4K. Wow, playing a game at 4K, 120 hertz with G-Sync, with this amount of brightness and just how gorgeous it looks. It's just, you've never played anything like it. Like, I've never played anything like it. It is another level. You know, in 5-10 years time, this will just be normal. But now it's like nothing compares to this. Like, it is the ultimate monitor, the ultimate gaming experience, and you're just gonna freaking love this thing, even just for viewing HDR content. I cannot stress enough, this thing is friggin' awesome. If you got the cash, and this thing is expensive, like 2.8 in Australia, it's around $1,800 in the US, and I think it's like £1,700 I saw it for. Yeah, very expensive, but you know, if you want the best, that's what you got to pay. Oh, I just wish I had 3K to drop on this thing. Like, seriously, I'm actually really thinking about it now. Yeah. Why do I have to return it? I'm sad. Anyway, you're going to love this thing. It is the ultimate. If you can afford it, get it. Trust me. Boom. Now, if you guys are new around here, come on, sub up, join the Woo Train, and be a champ. Come on, hit that like button. Catch you in the next one, guys. Tally ho. Yes. Cannot believe it. This is the ultimate. Woo!